So, please, write. So I'll open it up. Yes.
What is your relationship with your mother now?
Non-existent. When I have a 2-year-old daughter, and so when I was pregnant, I was compelled some way to be like, oh, I need to see my mom. And then I saw her, and it was like, no, I'm never gonna see my mom again. So that's how I'm feeling still now in this moment, and things might change, but I honestly don't think that they will. But our relationship is non-existent. What else? Yeah.
Sorry. What about your grandmother? Is she among the living, and if so, does she have a relationship with your daughter?
She is. She is among the living. Do I have a relationship with her, and does she have a relationship with my daughter? No. Same. This is like sad, dreary part, right? So my idea is to have 3, so a progression. So this really explores the relationship between my mother and I, and then I need to write my grandmother and I, and then I need to write, my daughter and I. But my grandma, she really was an enabler, and she was really complicit in a lot of the things. I told her about when my mom was abusing me, and nothing happened. I told her about other instances between my brothers. Absolutely nothing happened. And so I just don't have respect for people who are going to sit there and watch their loved ones go through this. And so I don't want her to be around my daughter or me. Yes.
The process of writing this and or performing this started.
Totally. I'm surprised I can get through without crying anymore. So I've progressed. It is. I think writing it was probably the best thing that I needed to do, especially because my mom is so far gone. I can't, write how she was when I was growing up because it doesn't make sense for the stage. But the fact that I can write at least that end sequence too, where I have some sort of closure and where I feel like she can maybe understand my words for whatever, 30 seconds, that's what I need. So yeah, totally. Yes.
Have you given any more thought to actually turning into a book?
I have. That's why I need to finish the other 2 things first and then see how it all comes together. Because when I read it on the page too, I realize that there could be better transitions through each piece, but I don't know, I sort of like it as vignettes and moving through things in that way. But I think it would work well as a story or however it might end up looking. But yes.
2 questions. In conducting your interviews, did you find that anyone had sort of a normal relationship with their mother when you say that everyone sort of has some semblance of chaos within their relationship? And then my second question is, if people could walk away with one thing, what would you want them from your whole experience?
Okay. For the most part, everyone had a bit of chaos to fuel their relationship with their mom. There were some that were, more quote unquote normal, as compared to societal expectations. But there were, as you heard, there were still a range of experiences, but I think, even I can identify with a lot of those different stories and take bits and pieces from it. And even as we were reading, some people were like, oh, did you blend stories? What was that? I'm like, no, this is taken from one person and that's them. They're like, oh. Or they're like, was that mine? I'm like, no, that's not even you. So it's crazy how some people have these same experiences, or very similar, right? So yeah, I wouldn't say anyone was normal, but there were those that were closer to it. And then the one thing, one takeaway. I think for me, it's about the medium. It's about art. And for me in theater in particular, because you have that chance to write new possibilities, to write a world where it can be how it is as you envision it and what you see. So this work for, the class was writing for social justice. And so it was so hard for me to pick like any one issue. But I think being able to, it's like, how do I work towards social justice when I can't imagine what the hell that would look like? Like, what if racism was gone? What if, mothers were valued as equally as everyone else? So I think the takeaway is just envision those new possibilities and put it forth in art. Right. Yes.
How do you define motherhood now that you have a child? So what was your idea of motherhood before between you and your mother, and then now that you're a mom, what is your relationship to motherhood as like you and your daughter?
Yeah. Well, when I was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, motherhood's gonna be the most oppressive, disgusting, nasty thing. And I was just thinking about all the things I wouldn't be able to do. And then, I had my baby, I was like, okay, move towards it. But now that she's 2 and I see her like as a person, I realize, wow, I love her so much. And I didn't know what that looks like, but my partner and I, all our conversations end up revolving around her. Or we talk about how funny she is, or the things that she does, or, how she looks, or, she'll like fart and laugh, like things like that. I'm like, oh my God, that's so hilarious. And I realize I'm talking about her in these ways because that's love. Like, I love her, which is like, whoa, my head's gonna explode. What? I'm a mom. I love my kids. I know, right? But yeah, like I said throughout the play, like I had no idea, and it scared the shit out of me. That's why when I got pregnant the first time, I knew I couldn't do it. Yep.
Okay. Can you describe how this project reflects like a culmination of all the stuff you've been studying in your graduate program, and maybe even your undergraduate, if that also matters, which probably does, I suspect.
It does. Okay. So, I didn't even start out thinking that like motherhood studies is a thing, but FYI, motherhood studies, it's a thing. Yeah, all right? So, I started out looking at like racial formation theory and things like that, and looking at whiteness studies, because I always get like, oh, what are you, where'd you come from, blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of people get that, right? But I definitely take it really personally because I don't know who my dad is. And then I grow up hearing like, oh yeah, you're Native, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, I don't know. And then growing up with different families and being raised by a lot of Black and brown men and women has sort of shaped who I am in a different way. And so I started out there, right? And then this play really helped move it forward in combining everything. So I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater because that was the outlet I needed in undergrad. I don't really particularly know how to do a lot of stuff in theater. I mean, I do, but I don't. But yeah, so that's there. So that was always there. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be on stage. I can do that. And then I took writing for social change. And Dr. Elena Hartwell, she's a practicing playwright. And she was like, I was telling her the story, and she was like, yeah, like motherhood, that's your through line. And I was like, huh, yeah, I guess it is. And then I started reading the literature about it, and was like, yeah, this is a thing. This is like, I get this. I don't have to be this expectation of what a mom is. Like, I can be who I am, and there's people who are saying, this is okay. You don't have to like, eat, breathe, live, die your child all the time. And so, and messed up stuff happens. Like, yeah, so that really propelled me there. And does that answer your question, Ricky? Okay. It's a lot of things all rolled into one. And it comes out as that. What else? You can ask me something personal, it's okay. Yeah.
I mean, I could wait to ask you later, but it's more interesting. And you opened the door up. So anyway, what happened to those 2 dudes that you were talking about in your play? The first gentleman that you were 8 years apart from, whatever happened to that? Like,
oh,
fiasco?
Alvaro?
And then, yeah, him. And then what happened to the Indian gentleman who gave you a ring? Like, did you hawk the ring, or like?
Oh, he left the receipt in the bag, so I took it back and was like, okay, let me get this money. I was 16. What do you do? Alvaro, that's funny. I still talk to him on the phone, but yeah, literally, we were in like an 8-year pretend relationship. Like, saw each other every now and then, because I went away to college, right, and he stayed working, and then he's just been back and forth between Chile and Mexico, and so sometimes I talk to him, and sometimes I don't. But there was never anything there. It was never really like a relationship. I don't know, I'm still figuring that one out. But yeah, that's where that's at.
Do you think he was healthy? Like, out of all the relationships that you've had with men, right? Or the snapshots that you have on the scene, was he a healthy, pretend relationship? Did he give you an outlet to explore yourself? And the idea of, like, you said you never knew what, like, beauty was. You've never had somebody go and tell you, like, you can pick whatever you want. And this guy is telling you can pick whatever you want. So that idea of being treated almost in a sense like a gem, or something who's wanted by someone, but not for ulterior motive.
He definitely serves a function and purpose, and I care about him as I care about any other human being. But I don't even know. Like, it's hard to even think of like healthy mixed with that relationship, because it was so pretend, and it was just like, okay, like, I don't even know. I don't think he ever really gave me what I wanted. That's why if he did, then we would have been in a real relationship. So I don't know. I think he just helped support me or give me money so that I could do the things that I wanted to do. So basically I could eat, so. Yes, Beverly.
What do you see as your next exciting step as a performer? I know you want to do the next couple of places in terms of writing about your daughter, writing about her. But what gets you excited? What do you feel would be a good challenge for yourself as a performer? Especially after reading about all these different performance artists that you've been reading about.
Yeah. I definitely want to keep doing feminist theater, feminist performance art. I think I'm really proud of this in the sense that while there are some sprinklings of like my relationships with men, and we talk about it in some ways, I think it's a lot about women and their relationships, and focusing on one another. And there's not a lot of things that do that. Usually we explore women as relational beings, right? What's their relationship to these men, or blah, blah, blah. So, as a performer, I don't know. I'm actually pretty funny, right? I like doing comedic stuff. So, I want to do really uplifting stuff. I did a short 5-minute film for the 100-Hour Film Festival, and that was interesting because I definitely think of myself as like a stage performer, not in front of the camera. Everything changes like in front of a camera. So I would be interested in trying to do some things like that, but I don't know. While I read about feminist performance art and I think it's exciting, there's part of me that just kind of doesn't like get it, or I'm like, oh man, I won't be witty enough, or I won't be able to do it right. So I want to keep doing theater.
Do you have a favorite context that you want to do it in? Like, can you imagine yourself in the neighborhood cafe, or doing it in the street, or doing it in a certain kind of theatrical environment, or that I'm curious about?
Okay. For me, like, feel at home here, school, this is me, like, would I ever go, like, would I expect this many people to be at my daughter's birthday party? Hell no, but I feel like, oh my God, each and every one of you came here for me? Like, what? So, I would want to do, like, the college circuit. I think this is ideal, right? Because I want to be able to have these conversations with people and to pick their brains and see what people are doing. And I know that even doing the monologues, right, there are so many other people who said, education, this is what saved me, like school, this, I love it, I need it, it fuels me. So I want to stay around here, but I can picture myself doing other things. But I think that this would be ideal. Yes.
Do you feel, so with the letters here, like an inner child, and you were describing what it is you want to be able to offer your child, Do you feel like you're in that place now?
Yes. And it was with a lot of work, definitely, and a lot of ups and downs to get there. I still went through counseling. I still had to cut myself off from people when I was pregnant because I was like, they're just toxic people. Like, if I want to, right, this is my legacy, in my daughter. And so I had to work really damn hard in trying to, like, get all these skeletons out the closet and say, hey, this is what happened and I need to deal with it if I'm going to move forward and say, like, I'm creating a family, but you're not going to be a part of this family. Like, this shit is not going to happen to my daughter. And so I definitely think I'm at a place now where I can offer that. Yes.
So you just said the anger and resentment from everything that you just told us you went through. You're saying that you're not supposed to pass that, or just have this and know that nothing goes. A lot to deal with.
I know, right? It is a lot to deal with. I'm not there 100%, definitely not. I still, but it helps a lot. Even, writing this play helped a lot too, and to be able to say, like, these things do happen, and this happened to me, and so because no one in my family ever acknowledged that this happened, it was really hard for me to move beyond it. So I was angry and resentful, but now that I can say, yeah, my mom molested me. She, made me perform sex acts on her every week, all the time. I can move past that, and I'm not angry or resentful, but it does rear its head up in other ways in my relationships. Hang on, I'm gonna get Ed first, and then I got you, Randy. Ed.
And I find about voice getting mothers so interesting. I wanted to just see kind of additional ideas about what to share about the title of this event.
Ooh, thanks. Wildly interesting. Whoa. So there was a book that Margaret had recommended to me that was called, something made flesh, right? And it was about performing women's autobiography. And I was like, oh, that's pretty much what I'm doing. And so I talked to Dr. Jolly, and her big research focus is motherhood studies, right? So that's her thing, she knows. And she was like, oh, they're playing around with this thing, right, where they say mothering and they put the M in parentheses, so it's like othering. And I was like, oh. So I kind of put those two things together, right? And it became Voices Made Mother, because I really think it's also about, voices made other, because in society, women really aren't given a chance to speak. And I think that's why a lot of these women spoke to me, because I said, hey, I want to hear what you have to say. Like, tell me. Like, I gave permission to these women to tell me their stories. And they trusted me, and they did. And so that's been, really profound experience. But that's sort of where the title comes from. Randy.
So, playing here, as I can tell, you did about at least 4 years.
Huh?
The play you did about 4 years ago of your life. Maybe longer.
Yeah.
So, in the play, it talks about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Also between men and women and between mothers.
Mm-hmm.
So, since that time, you started another relationship.
Yeah, I really don't know how to identify in that realm, but I'm of the mind that I look for love where I can find it, and I don't care your gender, your own sexual orientation, like any of that stuff. That doesn't matter to me. So, this is pretty heteronormative, but I don't align myself completely with that. Is that what you're hitting at, Randy?
Well, I'm trying
to out me.
some healing that took place in that from the time you were a junior in the MFA program until now you're a senior, or whatever they call it, in the last quarter of the master's.
Yeah.
And was it all school? Was it something more?
I'm still working on that. It's a lot of different things, but yeah, I think being able to be in a more stable and healthy relationship with someone who provides for me and does care about me. He's right there. Has really helped, but I don't know. School has a lot to do with it too, because I took a year in between undergrad and grad school to be with my daughter, and that was a really hard time for me. It was really hard. I was like, what am I doing? I don't feel like I'm doing anything. Like, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. So coming back to school has really helped me work through that more. Like, why? Why did I hate that? Why did I hate being alone with my daughter all the time? Like, you know. Yeah, I'm working. Yes.
Two questions. One, who's your favorite, if you're into comedy, who's your favorite like actor and like comedic actor and why? And then my second, usually doesn't have to be one, it could be like 5 million.
Okay.
And then my second question is, if you could talk, since you're not like, you don't have a relationship with your mother or your grandmother, like what would you say to them now? Like, what would you want to go back and say to them if you could just put the final kibosh on a relationship? I know that like you've kind of ended it, but like if it was like, this is my last words I'm ever going to say to you in this lifetime, what would it be?
To my grandmother and my mom, both? I don't know. I wouldn't say anything like deeply profound or meaningful to my mom, because I feel like she wouldn't really understand anyway. And for her, it's just like seeing me. She doesn't need to hear me say anything, but just my presence sort of validates like, oh my God, that's my daughter, she's doing so great, or whatever. I'm sure my grandma tells her whatever she knows about me, about what I'm doing. So my mom's somehow in the know. With my grandma, I don't know. There are some days when I'm like, I kind of want to talk to her, or maybe I should send her a picture of Rhea, or maybe, you know, something. But what would I say? I don't know. I don't like thinking about like the finality of it all. Like I like to keep my options open should my mind change, because I know that I'm not the same person that I was then, and I'm not gonna be the same person I am now. But not a why question. I wouldn't ask a why question, because that's I'd probably just tell her that, you know, I wish you would have been there. And then actors, I don't know. I love, my favorite movie is The Fifth Element, and so absolute favorite movie. So I love Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, and Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker's really the only funny one there, but I don't know. You know, I don't really watch as much TV or any of that, and I didn't really have one growing up, so I'm kind of like void of references to a lot of things. As far as theater goes, since I'm doing this at night and with Rhea during the day, I don't really get to see that much theater anymore, but I don't know. I directed the Vagina Monologues at PLU once. They were pretty funny. There were some good actors there. They were funny. I think you're funny. So, I don't know. I need to work on that one. Okay, what else? Yes, Peter.
So education seems to be a positive conclusion for a lot of those who interview. What other positive conclusions may coming out of like our relationships with the mothers, or if you can think of anything off the top of your head?
Yeah. One person definitely did mention art. A couple of women, for them, it was their relationship with God. And for other women. What are some positive things? Yeah, education, art, and God. But
That's a good title.
yeah, I know, right? I cannot remember any specific other things off the top of my head that they explicitly said, like, that's really, what had helped them. But there were, some people described, like, their helpers along the way. Like, people they had that would show them things that it could just be a stranger in passing, showing you, when you're wearing a skirt, this is how you sit, and sort of things like that. People mention helpers along the way, but those have to be the big ones that I can think of. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I know for folks that are like a child and not a mother, for example, they haven't really learned role in those sense. So
Yeah.
can you elaborate on that? Do you have any more words?
Elaborate on the helpers?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this person in particular described them as sort of people who they didn't necessarily have a close relationship with a lot of them, but just people who modeled positive behavior in whatever way. And so, thank you for asking this, Peter, right? Because we all need to know. A lot of these are sort of like, ooh, but everyone's made it through this. They're here. Like, these are people who are in college. They're in, undergrad, graduate programs. And so, they're still here. They're not broken. So this brings up a good point, right? To try and model that positive behavior and know that, like, on a really micro level, yeah, what you do, it does matter. The things you say, the thank yous, the small gestures of kindness, and that's what this one person in particular was talking about. Actually, two people talked about it, right? The one you heard about, the lunch ladies, Margie and Edna. This woman would only see the lunch ladies during lunch at school, but somehow they had a profound impact on her, and were able to be those helpers. And another woman described, when she lived in a foster family, one of the families, like, whenever she went to eat at a restaurant, she always ordered the same thing, like a cheeseburger and fries, because that's all she ever knew. And so if she deviated from that in any way, she was afraid she would get something that she didn't like, or something that was wrong, or she didn't know, she felt stupid about it. So she would always order the same thing, no matter what restaurant it was. And so, her foster dad told her, I see, you don't have to order a cheeseburger and fries every time. You can order other things, and the cooks in the back, they can make it how you want. And if you don't like your food, you can send it back. And it's just small gestures like that. And I think we're all sort of relearning the world. Definitely as a mother too, it's a whole new experience to be re-socialized into that world. And so, does that answer your question? Cool, thank you. Ricky?
I was just curious about the and I was wondering if you could talk a little more about it.
Yeah, I was gonna open up talking about that, but then I didn't. So, the mermaid, the individual on the fly. So, does anyone know who that mermaid is, what it represents? It is a cultural symbol, not for like the United States, but okay, I don't expect you to. I hear this person. I do have a mermaid on my arm, but she doesn't have to do with that. But she could. Ariel? No, not Ariel. She is.
Is it for
Yeah, Yamaya. So she is the mother goddess of all. And so she's associated with the water because they believe that all life begins in the water, right? And is born from that. So she really stands for just the mother of all. So usually you would see like Demeter or some like Greek goddess, right, as being like the mother. Or you think of representations of Mother Earth. But Yamaya is an Orisha goddess, mother of the earth, and all. What else? We don't have to keep going, and you're free to like get up and leave. Yes. Yeah, it's really funny how that works, right? So the question was, how did I get my strength to sort of deal with these sorts of things? So like with the Indian man, right? I could have said like, oh my God, there's someone paying attention to me. Oh, I'll be with you, whatever. And I didn't. I don't know. I think I was fortunate enough to have women there who did model a really strong and confident presence, and who, like, there's a divide, right? So like I know academically and intellectually, like, I don't need a man to validate me, or anyone else for that matter, right? I have to love myself, and it needs to come from here first before I can love anyone else, all that. Like, I know that. But then emotionally, it's like, oh man, but I want that too. But I want to be beautiful, and I want to be loved, and, loved, right? I don't even need to feel it. I just need to hear it, right, on the very surface level. But I don't know where that came from necessarily. I think it was just, I'm confident in my own abilities, and I knew that I was smart, when I was in school. Like, that's why I gravitated towards school. Like, here's my validation. And so I was like, I'm smart. I don't need this person. Like, who are they? And that's my really crappy answer to your question. Anyone? Yes, Ricky?
First, I want to say I love the vignette style. I think it's great.
Thank
It's very
you.
powerful. And then I guess my other question, you can answer it or just think about it, because I don't know if it'll help you as you continue writing, is were there small people, not small, like the helper people you were talking about? Do you remember those? Can you look back and kind of pinpoint those like helping hands at moments that were important also to kind of keep you afloat, or kind of help you stay on track, or learn boundaries and all that other stuff? And are they important to your story too? It sounds like it showed up in a lot of stories, I would suspect.
Yeah, Dr. Hartwell did this fun exercise, like, if you're going to do epic theater, name all the people who are going to be, who are characters in your story. And so I tried listing like all the people who have functioned as moms and who have filled that role for me. And it ended up being a lot of teachers, a lot of professors, a lot of friends' moms. That was the bulk of them. And so I can definitely see that. Like, this is my fifth quarter here. And so I was at PLU for 4 years, and I walked away with like these 3 women sitting right here, and Brian as like the only people who I talked to. And they're all professors. It's like I walked out with like 0 friends from there. And so it's funny, like, I don't know, I admire these people, they're knowledgeable. I see a lot of those people as being, the helpers, and that's where I get my grounding and footing and things. But yeah, mostly just teachers.
So you're in the education part. Well, actually, you have Beverly too, so she's art and education.
Yeah.
She hits your, now you just need God, right? Wasn't it religion? What was the third one?
Oh, I don't know
What the
what it is,
categories?
but
that you
yeah.
had earlier?
Yeah. Anyone else? Lace?
How did you, this emotional things, how did you take care of yourself throughout this process?
I think it helped having a small class. There were like 5 of us, usually only like 4 of us. I think there was 6, right? And then it kind of like whittled down to 4. And then I think I just needed to write it, right? I like wrote in like brain dump style. So I would just go, copy paste, move some things around, go, whatever. And then there came the day, right, when we had to do cold reads. And so someone else had to read my play out loud, and I had to sit there and listen. And then I just cried, right? Like, oh, hell. So it was having a supportive environment in the sense that my classmates were on board, they got it, they were there, they empathized. And then Elena, the professor of that class, Dr. Hartwell, she would take the time to like talk with me after class for however long it took, an hour or whatever, and she'd be like, okay, here's what you can do then. Here's maybe a useful transition. have you thought about this? And it was like, you know, aspects of therapy, but she was good, right? She like melded the writing process with the therapy, and so I sort of got that into one. She's like, okay, so you're having a reaction. Write about that. What is that? What is it that, you know, compelled you to have your daughter? You know, why didn't you have this baby, or these things? And so, you know, and she was really critical about me putting the abortion letter in there. She's like, why is that in there? That's so cut off. Like, do you want people to feel sorry for you? And I was like, no, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Don't feel sorry for me. So many people go through this. Like, this is not here for you to feel sorry for me. And so she really helped me, like, what am I talking about? What can I do to get these emotions on the page and do it in a, you know, a tactful, creative way? So that was my classmates. Anyone else? Did you have your hand up? Oh. You're all so great for staying here this long. Okay, well, if there are no further questions, please, papers are over there. Write down, if you didn't sign in on your way in, there's sign-in sheets in the back, and then there are yellow papers where the DRC sort of says, did you enjoy this program? Should we have more like it? Fill that out, please. And then food, eat the food. Thank you.